session, the agenda of the today's session is all about to deal with how if I want to remotely control the execution of my same script onto the multiple browsers and the multiple platforms. So we have already started the frameworks thing, we have already started the implementation of those framework, but on a higher end now, if I want to just take a leverage to run the same script onto the multiple across browsers or platforms, then we are having another last toolkit or flavor of Selenium, that is recognized as Selenium Grid. So first of all, we need to understand why grid is used. So as I suggested, that it is nothing but a collection of Selenium shoot where it specifically allows us to handle the same script to run on a multiple or different browsers, OS, or even the machines as well. The implementation is quite depending on to the two different versions. Definitely, Grid 2 is also launched where we can also implement the Grid 2. So we'll see also what is the difference between Grid 2 and Grid 1. As Grid 1 is deprecated, it's like that way where Selenium Mars is not even nowadays is that popular to use. Similarly, Grid 1 is gradually being deprecated by the Selenium team. So whatever the implementation that you will do, that is of a Grid 2. Okay, the concept is we'll try to create one of the main system as an hub, and whatever the other systems will have, we'll try to make it. It's kind of a master slave concept. We can name it better as hub and node, where hub is a main centralized location where I have designed my script, where I have deployed my server, and for the other systems where exactly I want to just execute the same script over the variety of platforms, I have to design the node configuration by installing the Selenium server file. I will show that to you what are the necessary required settings needs to be done. But the image shows lot many things that if I am having node 1 as an Android, where I am just trying to run the same test which is available onto the one of the other common centralized hub. This is one is, let's say it's having a Windows XP with Internet Explorer browser. This one is having the Ubuntu OS with Firefox and the Safari with Mac. The higher end concept, we can say it like, or we can also combine this concept onto the cloud testing or crowdsource testing with browser stack. Browser stack is doing the same where browser stack is one of the cross browser and the cross functional testing. Definitely we cannot do it of a Selenium course that we are designing, but this concept works accordingly where it will give you the live instances created on the browser. So from the one single point of control, you can virtually access the machine for which you can start doing the testing. So you can even automate, you can live perform the cross-browser testing, so you do not have to physically rely on to this specific OS or a browser. And as it's being much accurate, because the only reason is that from one single point of control, you are actually accessing the real-time device and the browser and the OS which is there available in the lab. Okay, so we need more than 2 or 3 instances for it, but so far also if you want to just see the higher end documentation of the same, you can go onto the official website of seleniumhq.org/download, where you will able to see the Selenium standalone server file segment, where you will able to see this wiki page, like to use the Selenium server in a grid configuration. See the wiki page. So Selenium server file is being important for us to start handling the Selenium grid scripts as well. So that we'll see also. It will open up this URL where you will able to see that what exactly grid 2 is all about. Okay, and you can see that it can scale your distributed test on several machines. As I suggested, you can better handle it as a parallel execution. You can manage multiple environments for a central point. So it's quite being easy that from the one single point of control, you can have a vast combination of browser and OS. Then you can tackle the situation well, rather spending out individual time and running the script individually. And somewhat you can minimize the maintenance time as well, because we do not have much modification required now if we are just trying to implement it from the one single point of control. So ideally it works as a hub and node concept. I will let you know how to do it, but just for understanding what will be the ideal syntax if you want to start the hub. Hub is the main parent, I can say the system under which you have designed the script and you want to just run it. So that is Java -jar, the way by which we have done it earlier for the Selenium server. I have notified the same. Earlier, we are notifying dashboard 4444 by which it was starting the Selenium server. Rather, I just want to make my one of the system as hub or parent. So you have to just assign the role as hub. By any means, if you want to just run it as a node on the relevant system where exactly you want to make it as a node, just start the server and also notify it as a node. So now that system is acting as a node. For that, my parent hub, so you have to also notify its relevant path from where we are accessing the parent. That is, default port will be 4444, right? So let's see the complete implementation. I am having one documentation design, right? So this will are the other references that you can go through, but this documentation still conveys a lot much details. Okay. So first of all, yeah, we need to understand like what is the major difference we have between uh, grid 1 and grid 2. No doubt grid 1 is officially deprecated, but if I want to say what is the major difference between grid 1 and grid 2, people are nowadays using grid 2, but grid 1 was earlier has its own remote control. So same like RC, there are two different programs we need to run. Whereas in the grid 2, we are having a complete bundled Selenium jar file. So we do not have to be dependent on two different programs to execute. We have to install and configure Apache Int if I want to use grade 1, whereas now we do not have to rely on the Apache Int. Now again, a small question will be going to be there probably, that what is Apache Int? So Apache Int is nothing but it is the build integration tool, I can say. I will come on to that topic where we'll discuss on a higher end the difference between int versus maven. But as I suggested that as we are using grid 2, so there will not be a way where we have to see the configuration of Apache int to do. But yeah, earlier if whenever we are doing with the grid 1, we usually use to Apache int. It can only support Selenium RC commands and script. That was a big limitation, I can say, that we have to design the script in RC totally rather than the WebDriver. But gradually all the WebDriver codes are also getting supported by the grid 2, so that is why now it's supporting both not only the RC script but also the WebDriver scripts as well. We can only automate one browser per remote control. So let's say consider a case that you are actually taking one of the remote control system of XP. Then at the same time for that XP you can just remotely control any one single browser at the same time, like either I or either Firefox or Chrome or either Opera or whatever it is. Whereas in this we can automate up to 5 browsers. So that is again a limitation we have, but still it looks quite straightforward that it gives more flexibility than the grid 1. Okay, so by that means if you'll see, as I suggested, that we need to set up the concept of hub and node, where hub is nothing but one of the central point where we'll load each and every test which I am usually designing into the WebDriver. There should be only one hub. There will not be a multiple hub that we can create. So make sure that whatever the system from where you want to just execute this script, it is having the installation done of Selenium RC, the server jar file, and also it should be assigned as a hub role. Also, the hub is launched only on a single machine. As I suggested, you cannot access it from the multiple machines. So say a computer whose OS is Windows 7 and it is having the browser IE, then the machine containing the hub is where the test will run, but you will see the browser being automated on the node. So no doubt the execution is going to be done on my hub all the time, but its effect that I will see on the remote browsers. What exactly the remote browser is all about? So again, same like the WebDriver, where WebDriver was being the interface of us, we are having the another class which usually gonna be used as a remote driver. So remote driver is used generally for grid, which supports to execute a multiple other browsers. So ideally it's again supporting the other interfaces as well, which allows to remotely access a specific platform or browser, by which means we can start executing it. The default remote WebDriver is having the constructor designed with this argument, like a command executor, the way by which we can execute the command, its capabilities, so the desired and versus required. So we'll see by some example by like how we can implement one of the remote execution of one of the system. So consider as the hub is done, where um, it definitely runs on single machine. We cannot access it from the multiple machines. Whatever you run it on the parent machine or hub, you gradually see the same onto the child, or I can say the nodes. Till now it auto query. If not, then I'll move further with the nodes part. All right. The another next one is nodes. As I suggested, node is nothing but it are the Selenium instances that we are creating to execute a bulk of scripts on the variety of areas or platforms. So there can be one or more nodes in a grid, but hub will be only one single. So nodes can be launched on multiple machines with different platforms and browsers where it's not mandatory. Like the machines running the nodes need not to be the same platform. Make sure that the nodes which we are running, it should not have having same platform like the way we are having of now hub. So if you are running onto the Windows 7, then make sure the other nodes are not of a Windows 7. It should be probably Ubuntu or any other platform, right? Or either you can virtually take that access of it. Now moving further, what will be the way by which I can install the grid that is 2.0 in my system? Because as the grid is quite popular with the second version, so we do not have to even rely on to the installation of Apache and okay. So assume that we are having two machines where machine A is acting as my hub, whereas machine B will act as my node. Assume that my physical, or I can say the IP address of machine A is this 192.168.1.3 and the machine B has 1.4. Okay, so we are having two IPs available here for machine A, that is for hub and also a node. Now what required to configure the grid 2? We need to go on through the website. As I suggested earlier, I was using the older file. So in this screen also, preferably you will be able to see that it is notifying 2.30. But in our case, make sure that 2.52 is available. So you are downloading that. So under this Selenium standalone server, make sure that you are downloading the version 2.52.0. Once you will download this, now start a second step. Like we have to place whatever the downloaded jar file in anywhere in the C drive. Let's say in my case, I have already saved that file on my physical machine. Let's say some drive, Selenium server standalone 2.44.0. Okay, so that is done. Okay, A and machine B. Make sure that you are copying in both the machine. I do not have any machine, but assume that you are having the machine where also you are keeping the same file. Now, moving further, the next step, we have to just make to assign the role of hub and the node. So let's say this is my current machine, so I can make it as hub. And as I suggested, the role will be like this way. So by any means, let's say, let me show that to you, like just for a machine A. This is my machine A, so I'm just notifying like Java, then there's jar, then I have to notify C colon slash slash where my file belongs to. So I'm just taking the file name of that server. I'll copy this and I'll paste it over here the way by which we are doing earlier in the Selenium server. Okay, and then we need to notify the role. Earlier we are notifying the port 4444 to start the standalone server, but right now we are using dash role and I'm assigning the role as hub. Once I will enter it, you will start observing this activities appearing over here with launching a Selenium grid server. So you better know that now it's launching it. Okay, if you close it, it will terminate the session. But make sure that this success message you will be able to see. Once it's done, now the same way I need to do it somewhere into the other machine. Okay, but if you will see here, uh, step 4 is after starting the hub, we need to start going out on one of the local IP where you will able to see the success message that whether the grid is on or not. All right. Till now, any doubt or query? Up to step 3. Whenever you will fire the localhost, you will able to see on the browser that you are using grid 2.44.0 because I have just used the version of 2.44 in my Selenium standalone file. Default monitoring page where you can click on console and you will able to see the configuration of default one. Ideally, this will have the default configuration of the hub. You can see my hub is running on this port, browser timeout and all those default things. So far, right now, I do not have any browser assigned. Okay, but this is how it will look like for the version 2.44.0. So any doubt or query till now? The moment you will just enter this URL, you will able to see that it is running on 2.44.0, and then preferably you will see the console where you will see the configuration of your hub. Shall we proceed further with the next step? All right. Once it's done, as I suggested that it will show that view configuration. In my case, it is 2.44, so it is showing that 2.44.0 with view configuration. Also, you can check if machine B can access hub's web interface or what. To access the interface of this, you just have to give the machine B IP with its port. Okay, this one is machine A's IP. Okay, and machine B's IP was 4. So that is why, as we are trying to access the machine A's console, so make sure that you are using my IP. Right now, if you will take a look, right now I'm working onto the local host. So by any means, if you want to access this, you cannot able to. But preferably, if I'll just give my IP, by which means you will also able to access. So consider a case that Sophie is having one of the system, machine B, which is now Mac, and I want to just do the automation onto the Mac Safari. Okay, so whatever the IP she has, she does not have to use that. Instead, she has to use mine IP with this 4444 grid console. By which means, if the server is also get started over there at her end, then she preferably able to see the same thing whatever right now I'm seeing in the machine A. Okay. Then the step 5. So finally, like hub is done. It's all about node now. So in the Sophie system, let's say, in the machine B, we need to again launch a command prompt, and the drive C wherever the code belongs to, we need to use the IP. Let's say that is mine one. So you have to notify a role node. So assume that Sophie has to follow this step, that is java-jar Selenium server standalone, or preferably the same 2.44 file or whatever the latest file will have. She will assign the role as a web driver as hub with accessing this. So my hub, it's accessed by Sophie's node. Okay, make sure that you are giving the IP of mine one, and preferably you will able to see the same vice versa at over there, and I can see that it is suggesting this bunch of things. Okay, so you will get some information. I preferably see in the screen that it is showing Windows XP. So preferably I was just trying to map while doing it with the Windows XP. You can see the capabilities and all those, like platform is XP and browser name is Chrome. You can see this in the arguments passing over here. Similarly, preferably I will see a Mac with Safari in case we are trying it for Mac system. Now again we can go on to the official page of the Selenium grid, which I recently deployed on my IP, and you will be able to start observing those all here, which was not available earlier, but at the same time, as I suggested, we can have 5 instances available here. So right now I cannot able to because I am running onto the local host, so I have to assign the IP over here, and then I can give you that URL, and then you can also do it. But the moment I will just do the successful configuration to the node as well, Preferably, you will able to see that bunch of browsers available here. This the way by which it is showing into this. Okay, and now we are ready to run a test remotely for the machine B. So what will be the idle script that we need to use? So as I suggested, we need to rely on to the two things. The one is desired capabilities, required capabilities, and remote web driver, which is nothing but the predefined class we have. So same like the way by which we are using, or I can say the way by which we are implementing the WebDriver script. Similarly, I am designing the same for grid. Whenever you will hover, you will also get the details. Already in the response itself in the CMD, we have observed that it was XP in the Firefox browser. But by hovering onto that icon, you can also observe the same thing. Whatever the browser that you want to initiate, make sure that capabilities is defined. Just recall the very early session where we have talked about the drivers of Opera and all those, where I have suggested you that if we do not have a driver of a specific browser, we can simply use the capabilities of that browser by desired capabilities class of a Selenium web driver. And once it's done, I need to create an object of my class remote web driver. So this is how I will create the object of my class remote web driver, where in the URL I need to pass the hub URL with the capability. So usually we write like web driver equal to new Firefox driver, where we usually use inbuilt drivers like Firefox, Chrome, Opera, Safari, right? Whereas now we need to start using the remote web driver class, where I have to pass its relevant URL as an argument with capability. Capability, the way by which I have earlier defined, and the URL is nothing which I want to remotely access. So this is the URL of my machine B. Assume that it's a Sophie's machine IP with its hub. The sample script, it looks like this way, where I'm just trying to create one of the instance of to check newtools.demount.com URL of Mercury Tools, and I want to remotely access on the multiple platforms. On each and every machine, my goal is to just get the title and to run it and see whether the title is appearing as per my expectation or not. So if you'll take a look here, I've designed the script by remote web driver object. See, where I have passed the URL, node URL, which I have just segregated totally. Similarly, base URL. It's up to you. You can give it physically rather giving it in a variable. But I can see that it is still visible that how we'll use it. And for each and every attempt, your test should get passed. So two important things, the capabilities, like the browser and the platform on which you are working. And the second one is remote web driver class. Clear? And auto query. Let me know once you're okay with it. Then after I will just move over the difference between what is Apache and Maven, why they are used. Shall we proceed further? Alright, so let's talk about what is the major difference between uh, int versus Maven. People feel it like it's quite being the same, but still there is a major difference between both. So let's see. So if I compare both side by side, Maven versus int, there is also one another term that we have, that is int, Maven with Jenkins as well. So usually these are the terms that people are having the questions like when to use or what to use. So company by company, it's totally depend on to the situation, like what they are expecting, or where they are directing the candidate to start using it. But if I'll say on a higher end, if it's Maven versus Ant thing, then ideally End is actually a build integration tool. So to whenever, say, the way by which the developers are doing the development, similarly in case I want to uh, build up it, then I have to use Int. So that is recognized more as build integration tool. Whereas if I'll talk about Maven, it's a project management tool rather than being a build integration tool. Alright. So if I'll compare it side by side, which one is quite preferable to have? So Int doesn't have any formal conventions to adopt because it's a build integration tool. So we'll only have to rely on to the build.xml. Whereas we are having the pom.xml, that is page object model. So we'll have to certainly having some conventions and the declarations that need to follow in the dependencies as well. I will show that to you how to convert an existing Java project or Selenium project to the Maven, and I will also show that to you how to create it from the scratch. But so far, that clarification should be there between int versus Maven. I can see that int is still procedure, so we'll have some certain order. You need to provide the order while executing it, and it does not having any life cycle. Whereas Maven is declarative, so it should be in a proper hierarchy, and also it's having its own life cycle. Like we need to notify dependencies and all those. It is more being tool, whereas it's being a framework of automation sometimes. It is mainly a beat tool. As I suggested, it's a project management tool. The int scripts are not being reusable because we are just creating one of the batch file. So every time we need to just build a whole project in the one batch file and then we are using it. Whereas Maven plugins are reusable. It is less preferred than Maven, but still vice versa, Maven is less preferred than int. So what will be the way by which I can install the Maven in my Eclipse? So preferably you can go onto the M2E Eclipse downloads. All right, this one. This is the official website from where you can install the plugin of Maven. And then certainly you can go with File, New, Other. Under that you will be able to see this Maven, and then you can go with Maven project. You can click on Next, and then it will ask about whether you want to create a simple project or whether you want to just use the existing workspace or what, right? You can go with Next, right? And then preferably we can select the first option, that is create a simple project. Let's keep the archetype selection. So don't go with it. By default, it should be selected. Next, and here see, we need to couple of give the group ID, artifact ID, versions, packaging, like where we want to jar or var, right? So this all are the things or the settings that needs to be done. But rather that, if you just directly want to use your existing Java project to convert into the like in the Maven itself, do it like this way. So it's being more easier than the creating from the scratch. How? So usually we use this like new Java project. Then we assume that like we have created one of the Google search. Let's say we have designed the script of Google search in WebDriver. Just do a right click onto that project, go onto the configure and just directly use configure or convert to Maven project, which is being more easier than the expectation. Whenever you click onto this convert to Maven project, you will observe this pom.xml file that we need to configure, which was appearing recently. Give a relevant group ID, its artifact ID, and under that pom.xml we need to put a dependency of Maven. Means which specific Selenium Java file version you are using. Again, I'm repeating that which specific Selenium Java version file you are using, not a server one. So you have to give that dependency here that we are using Selenium Java with the version 2.51.0 or 30 or whatever we'll have, right? So we have to notify that, and then whatever the files that we have configured, we have to use those files dependency as a Maven dependency. So you will see now that in the Maven dependencies, these two files needs to be added, which of Selenium, which we usually do it in a library folder earlier, but now we are trying to making it as a part of a Maven dependencies. So don't forget to copy those in this Maven dependency, right? And that's it. Now your existing project of WebDriver is now converted into Maven. On the higher end, sometimes it is happening that where people are actually having also the big question like should my team use Jenkins or Maven? This is the big question that few of the companies are having. So Jenkins, it's not supporting the JUnit annotation on a higher end though. It's not that thing like we cannot able to, but still Jenkins is more being onto the build integration again for a continuous integration. This term right now we are learning by this Maven and the aim to use. These are somewhat recognized as build integration for a continuous development of a test-driven part. So we want to just define a frameworks, but those frameworks are continuously revised such way that we want to treat it as a build, the way by which the developers are treating them. So that is why in that case you have to go onto the official website of Jenkins in case if you want to run your Maven scripts. I will show that to you now. What will be the way by which you can run the Maven scripts in your Jenkins. So Jenkins is nothing but one of the another automated open source server. You have to click on to the release where you will able to see the windows. Click on to the relevant platform for which you want to deploy the Jenkins. Click on Windows or download it. After downloading it, you will able to see the screen, right? You will able to see the screen, Jenkins. Install it. After the installing, it will run it on the local host the way by which it was doing with the grid. We have to click on new item where ideally my project is of a Maven. So I just have to select Maven project I want to run by Jenkins. I need to click on configure system. Under that I have to just give my JDK on which my Java is running right now. So let's say my Java is running onto the relevant JDK version that I need to mention here. Click on build now. So once I click on build now, I will able to see the build history continuously, like whether they failed or passed or what. And then I can execute the test over there in the Jenkins itself. By any means, if you want to schedule your runs, we can periodically set the schedules. Like on this specific time, automatically this specific test should gonna be triggered continuously in an iterative way. You can run it as a build periodically. Right. So that was all about the installation of Jenkins to run a Maven project. Clear? Any doubt or query? So this is again, it's your company decisions like which build integration tool they are using, whether they are using Aint or Maven or what. But this is just a higher-end thought that I have shared. Like by which means if your company is doing in Maven, then you have to certainly go on to the Jenkins to do a continuous integration or a build. Clear? Any query or doubt? Yes.
One case. This Maven installation, we just have to download, then it will be available in this
Plugins, yeah. The way
file.
by which we are doing in the test ng, similarly.
Okay.
If the Maven is not there, then probably if you are using the Eclipse Mars edition, which is quite being heavy, then you will able to see automatically under the project's other Maven option. But if it's not there, try to use the URL to place under the install new software. Else you can officially go onto the website. Let me ping you the URL that you can apply into the help install new software. I'm just pinging you that URL in the chat. If that URL doesn't work, then go onto the official URL and then download it from there. But major of the time, this URL, if you will put into the help install new software, then same like the test ng, you will be able to see the M2E option, that is Maven for Eclipse. Clear? Usually no one will ask you about to start converting the Maven project, but by any means someone is following the Maven standards to having the dependency in the artifacts to define, then let's create a Maven project rather creating a Java project and then converting it to the Maven project. Okay. But still, I just explained you both the ways. Either you can convert it from the existing Java project to the Maven, else simply create it from the scratch by this means by having this add-on, and then creating the Maven project by others instead of Java project. So that's it. Like we are done with the all concepts so far, like the frameworks and the implementation and handling the different elements, locations, and all those. Grid. Lastly, today we have covered up. Now finally I will just like share the exercise solutions that I will have, right, for that e-commerce. So by mail you will get it. I'm not sure like how much you have done it, but you can just send me back for a code review or something so that I can just give you a suggestion if required. And it's up to you guys, like how we are planning now. Are we meeting on after a few days gap and then you are coming up with the doubts or something, or what's your plan? But from my end, it's done actually, and I will share the interview questions as well. So you can just raise the question now for today's session if any, and you can also let me the feedback if you having any, please. So any questions, query, or doubt you have, then you can let me know.
Yeah, Prasad, it's better if we meet some days later, like if we can collect all our doubts and then we can clarify together.
Okay, not an issue. You can just create a bunch of topics that needs to be discussed quickly. And as I suggested, if better you are designing something and you're putting some efforts, you can simply send those over a mail to me. I will review it. I will do a code review. I can give you suggestion and I can collect those attentions in the next session as preferably major of the people are actually like agreeing on to the 1 week after. So we'll have 1 week after a doubt solving session. Okay. Hope like it went well at your end. Clear? Okay.
So from tomorrow there is no session, right? We'll plan and then meet. Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. You're welcome. Yeah.